Washington Irving said that there is a sacredness in tears. They are not a mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are the messengers of overwhelming grief, of deep contrition, and of unspeakable love. That
Hmm.
may or may not have anything to do with what we're going to talk about today, depending on how you react to stress and pressure and all those fun things. It is mid-November, and we're entering the dark period of the year. I got a text the other day from a friend. Don't forget to set your clocks from sunshine and happiness back to misery and despair. So, we've got that going on. We've got the holidays coming up and the stress that goes along with that. So, we're going to talk a little bit about how we deal or how we try to deal, or maybe some about how we shouldn't deal with stress and anxiety and pressure and things like that that seem to kind of creep up this kind time of year. So I'm okay. Are you okay?
It sounds like tears are going to be a part of this episode.
It might be. It
Chelsea
might
showed
be.
us a video the other night of this guy raking his leaves outside and the sun is shining and everything. It's went after the time change and it says, 4:59 and he's out there raking away and then it's 5 o'clock. It's
Yeah.
pitch black.
Yeah. And y'all, where you are in the mark demarcation, you get dark super early,
We
right?
do. Yes,
I
because
thought,
we're central time zone, but we're right on the line. Like we're
yeah.
really close to Eastern time zone. So
Mhm.
we get dark, especially the later it gets in winter, about 4:30 in the afternoon.
Mm.
Yeah.
That makes me want to cry right there. That's where
Yeah.
those tears come in.
Yeah. So when it's 6 o'clock, you feel like it's 10 and it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a baptism last night, which is wonderful. Ava Eubank got baptized, but we had all already, it was about 7 o'clock. Neil and I had just changed into our pajamas.
You had your Meemaw clothes on.
We did had the meanwhile clothes on. And we got a text saying, "Can you meet us at the building at 7:30?" And we're like, "Oh." I
Yeah.
thought,
But
it's
it's
not
the
10
middle of
o'clock
the day.
already. Yeah.
Yeah. I know this time of year when you look down at your clock thinking it's bedtime and you still have like 2 hours before you can
Oh, I know.
really feel like it's justified to go to bed.
Yes, yes. And we're kind of looking at each other like, "Well, what do you want to do tonight?" I don't know. What do you want to do tonight? Because
Well,
I don't like to be out when it's dark. I guess I'm a little old lady, but I feel like I've been a little old lady since I was 20.
yeah. Well, okay. That's all right. Well, I went to San Antonio to take care of Livy and Sophie on Monday, and when I came back, it was dark, and I hit something. I don't know. I mean, not it wasn't terrible. Like I didn't eat. It was my back passenger tire.
You
And
hit a thing, not a living thing.
yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
don't think it was living. I don't know. I hope it wasn't. That thought did cross my mind. But what
I,
was weird was I didn't feel anything under my the front tire. I just felt something hit my back tire, like I heard clunk clunk and like it hit my fender well or whatever you call that. And right about almost exactly then the tire signal came up on my dashboard. And I'm by myself and it's dark and I'm on Highway 290 and I hope my mother doesn't listen to this because she'll freak out. But there's about a 15-mile stretch of road between about Blanco and Dripping Springs and it's dark. It's pretty wide. It's a highway. But when that happened, I thought, oh, I don't know what to do because the tire gauge is on. If I keep going, is my tire going to blow out? And what's going to happen? But I also know sometimes if you keep going, the tire pressure stays in your tire. So I'm calling John saying, what do I do? And he said, well, I guess probably should pull over and check it out. And so there was a gas station in Henley, which is it's about like 6 or 7 miles from our house. And so I pulled in there and it was flat and brightly lit. It was a great place to pull over. It was a big gas station with a restaurant attached. And sure enough, that tire was flat as a pancake. And so he came and put the jack on and the spare on. So and the whole time he's putting the spare on, he's going, "You really should know how to do this. You really should be doing this." And I'm thinking, well, I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm watching you do this. So they couldn't fix it. It wasn't something they could fix. In fact, John has gone right now to go pick up a new tire for my car. And I don't know what I hit, but it was something.
Yikes.
Probably there's so many right now with the bright full moon, there's deer out. So it's probably a deer carcass or something on the road that I ran over a leg or something. Sorry.
Its antler punctured your
Yeah,
tire.
could have been that. I don't know. Because that, like I said, it was weird because the front, I didn't feel anything in the front. And I didn't even feel like a bump. It was just a noise. But anyway, I'm safe and driving in
Good.
the dark, no fun.
Well, speaking of the dark, last night when we did go upstairs to go to bed, I was already in bed with my book open and reading, and I hear Neil go, Kathy, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And I went, what? Because I have the box fan on in the
Mhm.
bedroom. Like I said, I can only hear the fan. What? And then about 5 seconds later, he comes running in and he goes, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. And my heart is like, and I'm wanting to go, no, I don't think I
Yeah.
want you. But he was like, hurry, hurry. So I jumped up and he was in the bathroom and he had put the bathroom window up. We're upstairs. Okay.
Mhm.
So he had put the bathroom window up and he's like, come here and listen, listen. And I heard the creepiest, like howling, screechy noise from the
Whoa.
back of the property. And I mean, it just made the hair. I mean, we have lots of wild animals. We've seen all kinds of things on this property. And I think when we first moved here, I heard some kind of unrecognizable sound at night. And I posted about it, like, what in the Bowling Green area would make this
Mhm.
kind of noise? And people were saying it's a banshee, And but I haven't heard that since. Well, last night it was just like this. I can't even make the noise, but it was this
Yeah, I want
howling.
you to try.
I wish I could. I
Come
can't.
on.
It was like a no. You almost tricked me. But the hair just, and I just went, oh, and Neil and I are looking at each other and we're going, what is that? And we could hear exactly where, it was right in that little forest right there. And it would do it again. And then a little while later, it did it again. And this time it sounded like it was right in the middle of our backyard. And then, 60 seconds later, it did it again. Only this time it sounds like it's right over there by the barn. And
You're giving
Neil's
me chicken bumps.
I know.
It's,
Neil said, I hope Apricot's okay. And so he ran downstairs and took the flashlight outside. Well, anyway, it was terrifying. And so I finally looked it up and I literally put, what would make a howling, screeching noise in the dark in Bowling Green, Kentucky? And several options came up, mountain lion being the first one. And so it was one of those sites that where you can listen to it. A barn owl was one of them. That definitely was not it. And a mountain lion. When we first heard it, we thought that could have been it. We've seen bobcat, but we've never seen mountain lion. But then we got to red fox
yeah,
and played it, and we both went, that's it. That's exactly what we heard. I had no idea those little things could
yeah.
make such a loud, terrifying noise. And that makes sense because a couple weeks ago when we came home, one ran across our driveway right in front of us. And we had just lost that chicken. Remember, I told you one of our chickens disappeared. And
Hmm.
so we thought, oh, we have a red fox. He probably got that chicken. So they're still hanging around, apparently. But that's the first time I've ever heard anything like that. And it gave me the willies. It
Yeah.
was terrifying.
There's a dog running across the yard right now, but we have a couple of foxes that bed down in the back of the property, and just about every night they cross the back of the property and they make it's very strange. It's like different sounds altogether, like a huffing and a screeching and a wailing, and that is odd. So I'm glad you figured out what it was.
Well, when I was reading up on it, it was talking about their vocabulary. Like they can make all these different, they can yip and chirp, and I forget what all they were saying, but they do this kind of screechy yowl thing when they're looking for a friend.
Looking for a friend,
That's right.
seeking companionship.
That's right.
Well, thanks for that little lesson in
You're welcome.
fox, looking for a fox, huh? I'm dating myself there.
Oh,
Well, here's
yeah.
what we've been doing in the dark. We're a couple of old people. If you're watching, you can see my puzzle. It's a puzzle of Regensburg, Germany. And
That
I
looks like a hard one because of that
well,
sky.
I love the puzzle, and we of course finished all this, and
Hmm.
now we're both looking at each other like, okay, so we're working on this, which is harder, but all of this and all of the sky,
Hmm.
it's like there's 200 pieces of random
Yeah, no.
blue, and so
Yeah.
now I don't not want to finish it because I can't. I mean, that's like a challenge that I'm denying, but yet at the same time, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it.
Neil and I just finished a puzzle last night, and he has already ordered another one, which I just think this is rich because you remember I was the puzzle person. He just kind of did it
Yeah.
to be a good husband, kind of a thing, and now he enjoys it as much as I do. So,
That's so funny because I asked John to pull it out from under the bed. We have one of those puzzle things that has the drawers,
mhm.
and after we sucked all the 2 inches of dust off of it, he sat down in front of it, and I'm walking around behind him trying to work on the puzzle. I'm like, this is my puzzle. I wanted to do it with you, but you took my spot. Now he sits down at it every chance he gets, and every time he puts a piece in, he goes, ha ha. So it's like he's got this sense of accomplishment. But anyhow,
You know what Neil does?
what?
He doesn't just place the piece, he places it and then taps it with his finger 3 times. It's like to make sure I can see.
Yeah, pat himself on the back. No,
I
it
feel
is
like I
fun.
do the John thing more often. Ha ha!
Ah, I got it.
Ha
Yeah,
ha!
well, it is fun, but I was cracking up at us. We're officially
Yes.
middle aged and maybe a little older now that we're sitting at night and working on our little puzzle
Yeah. And
with our popcorn.
speaking of, I was reading Epic newspaper the other day,
Mhm.
and they had this big write-up on how playing chess, is good for brain health and function, like prevents dementia and uh, makes your brain more youthful and all that because it's a thinking strategy, and that they've been doing all these studies and found out that people that play chess every day have much better brain function, which I can use all the help I can get. So now I've decided I never learned how to play chess. Do you know how to play?
No, I don't.
Neil knows how to play, but he hasn't played in years, like decades. But I now feel like that's our next step through the old people door is we're going to have to get a chess set and learn how to play and save my brain.
Yeah, well, sounds like a good plan. It
I
sure
think
couldn't
Neil would
hurt.
be more inclined to do that than Mahjong with me because he wasn't near as excited about that as I was.
Trying to think of what the game was that Wayne and Burger played just about every night. Um, I can't think of it. We have it, and it's, you place the number tiles and you're trying to block them from going anywhere. Anyway, we played with them one night and they're pretty vicious. They were pretty cutthroat against each other. It was fun. So
I
games, they're
can see
fun.
that. I
Yeah.
can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Well, in a few episodes ago, I mentioned the stink bug
Hmm.
plague, which is starting to die down, but now we're under the ladybug, the faux ladybug plague, whatever those things are that look like ladybugs, but they're really not.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, they're lighter in color. They're not as vibrant red. They're more like a light orange or something.
Do they
Well,
sting?
anyway, they showed up yesterday. They bite. They
Mm.
showed up yesterday en masse. And they are everywhere. They're all over the front stoop. I mean, you can just see them out. So I feel like we go from like one plague to the next. But I have had two people reach out to me and say, like they're catching up on episodes,
Mhm.
something about the stink bugs. And one of them was Lisa McKay the other day. She texted and said, just listen to your stink bug episode. And she sent me a link. Check this out. Look at that. You see that? So for those of you who aren't watching, this is like one of those long-handled things, like if you're on your lawnmower and you use the one that has the pinchers on the end to pick up debris out of the yard, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like that, except this one has like it almost looks like fiber optic things at the end of it that you press the handle and then
Mhm.
this little net thing or whatever opens up. And she said that this it's called a spider catcher, but that it's perfect for stink bugs. And she said when she first saw it, she was skeptical, but it actually works. So I ordered one and truly it really works. And it's perfect because sometimes they're up like at the top of your curtains or you just can't quite get them. And you can reach them with this. But the best part about it is you don't have to touch them at all. So I've always been using like a little Kleenex and I try and gingerly touch them because if you mash them in any little way, they give off that horrible stench. And so, but with this, you don't have to touch them at all. So I literally just go and pick it up with this thing, go straight to the toilet, drop it in there, and flush it. This thing is
Give them
amazing.
a swirly.
Yes.
Well, good to know.
Yeah. So I thought I would share that. I haven't tried it on a spider yet, but if I see one, I will
You
definitely
could
share.
also give your husband a little surprise with that too, which makes me think, have you seen those reels of the women who they're holding a drill in their hand, like their husband's on they're fixing something, like hanging a something, and they're standing on a ladder, and you're frozen. Hopefully, I'm not.
You're
Okay.
back.
Okay. Did you hear me say that these
I
women
heard
are
you. You were just visually frozen.
frozen?
Yeah.
Okay. So they have a drill in their hand, and their husband's doing something on the ladder, and they rev the drill and poke them with their other hand at the same time. Have you seen that?
No.
It's hilarious because the men they jump back and because they think they've been drilled.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'll send you a link to that so you can have the same joy that I've had and consider when you might do that to Neil, like I'm planning to do it to John sometime.
Look, I don't know if I can do stuff like that with him anymore. He's getting up there. I don't
I
I
think
don't
you
want to be
should.
responsible.
No, we all need you to do it and then report to us.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to tell you that what day was that? I didn't write down what day was a Friday night. Friday night. We went to a birthday party for one of our members who turned 90 years old. And she is just, speaking of brain health and aging and all, she is just as spry and sharp
Mm,
and, she's doing better than I am. And, just wonderful to talk to. It's like when you meet somebody and you think to your mind, hashtag goals. I want
yeah.
to be like her when I'm 90 years old.
Hmm.
And it's just incredible to me. We have a couple ladies that are also 100. I think one
Wow.
is 101 now. And, just the longevity. And I'm sure a lot of it is tied to their faith, because when you're living the Christian life, you're making smarter choices for your well-being also. And since we're talking about stress, having that relationship with God and prayer and comfort and peace and all that, I'm sure that helps with longevity there too. And yesterday, give a little shout out to our friend Dina Myers here. She listens to Looking Up every single week. And I got to talk to her on the phone for
Hmm.
about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned on this podcast, I'm pretty sure, Johnson Kell, and how
Hmm.
one of the things I loved about him was every conversation with him was just real. I mean, you walked away feeling something, like it just meant something. And my whole phone call with her was that way. I mean, I told Neil afterwards, I was so refreshed and I told her also, I was like, I feel like all this should be in a book. Like I've been enjoying the insight and the wisdom, and I feel like we need to share the wealth and and just she was just talking. She was just talking about life and experiences and things in general. And when I got off the phone with her, I just felt like the things that have been bothering me were so petty.
Hmm.
And she cares about people and she cares about sharing the gospel and making the most of time with her family. I mean, it was one of those moments that you look and in the moment, sometimes you have to look back on something to see the good. This was definitely one of those in the moments. God has been so good to me to have this conversation because I was so blessed by it.
Mm. She is one of a kind. And I feel I didn't really get to know her very well, like in person. Really, she's only like a social media friend. But I'd heard you talk about her so many times. I remember you talking about tea parties that she would host and just different ways that she would serve and
Yeah.
so I knew her through you and then got to kind of know her on my own. But one of the things I remember the most about her, I was with her at a lectureship in Idaho 3 or 4 years ago, I guess. And something had happened earlier that morning that I was kind of struggling with when I saw her. And she just said, I mean, she didn't know me that well. We know we've had conversations over, with our fingers. But she said, "Yeah, are you okay?" And I mean, I just immediately welled over with tears. And she hugged me and was like, she's just one of those people that you feel like you've known from the day you were born, and she's just solid. And you know that the things that she says, you can trust her to be honest and kind and always pointing to God. You talk about somebody that's always pointing others to God.
Yeah.
She's one of those people. So I'm glad that you got to have that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yes. And I had the joy of staying with her. I did their ladies' day out there at Salmon, Idaho. And when you do stuff like that, it it's a job. I mean, it's a wonderful experience, but you're thinking about preparing for your lessons and the travel arrangements and blah 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 blah. And just staying with her, her home is adorable. I mean, absolutely beautiful. And I can still picture the room that I stayed in, her beautiful gardens, and we went outside and had tea. And it was my first time ever having lemon balm tea with lemon balm that she grew in her garden, and we sweetened it with honey, and it was so good. And we just sat out there and talked.
Yeah.
And usually in things like that, I try and keep it as short as possible so I'm not away so long, and stuff like that. And I remember just thinking, do I have to go home? Can I
Yeah.
stay? Because it was so refreshing and so peaceful and so delightful, to spend time with her. You're right. She just has that impact on people.
Yeah.
That's who we're trying to be here.
Yeah.
We want
So,
to be like her.
for sure, for real.
We want people to leave us our presence refreshed, and I think the key is she genuinely cares about people.
Yeah. Absolutely. And thinking about, our topic today and feeling pressure and stress. And I'm sure she feels it, but you don't ever see it from her. And I'm sure that the advice that she would give regarding stress and pressure and all that is to turn it over to God and leave it in his hands and do what you can and not worry about the rest. So, end of
Yeah.
topic. We don't even have to talk about it now.
All right. It was great.
Till next week.
Keep looking up.
No, ha ha. Well, she is wonderful. I'm glad you got to talk to her.
Oh, me too. Oh, I did want to show you this is my first little winter painting. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay, ready. I want to be there.
Isn't that cute?
I can't see, are they cutting down a tree?
They are carrying, it's two little kids and they're carrying a little sled.
Kathy, you have found your art form.
Thank you. It looks better where you are because it's from a distance. You don't want to look at it too close.
Well, seriously, but I mean, that is very pretty and
Cute.
frameable. And now, the thing that you enclose in Christmas cards with Dale's little drawings, you're going to have to enclose yours too. It's going to
No,
be art from the Pollards.
I
You
did
can
say
see it
something to Dale
now.
about that. Um,
Gallery, the Pollard Gallery.
yeah. On Sunday, I told Dale, start working on your picture because I want to get a head start on cards this year. I always
Yeah.
wait till the last minute and then I'm stressed.
Yeah, that stresses me out just for you to say it. Cards.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'm going to show you before, at least I'll be done with before topic, is that I was digging through drawers and found my high school IDs. So if you're watching, you can see
Oh, look at
San
you.
Marcos High School, and it cracked me up too because it's very technical. Back in the 80s, you just had you semester one, I had A lunch, semester two, I had A lunch, and I was on bus 10. There's no swiping and
Yeah.
cards. And here's my college
Look
and
at
John's college
that.
ID. Yeah. So we were babies. This was
Y'all are
back
so
in
cute.
1986, I guess, 87, something like that. So
You're
that's
still cute.
the useless stuff that I still have in my drawers. All right, enough of that.
All
You
right.
have anything else you want to share? Have we
I think
blathered on enough?
I think we've blathered on long enough.
Okay, well, I feel better already. And I think that's one of the ways that you can kind of relieve some stress is just talking with a friend. In fact, I know it is.
Yes.
But there's stuff in life, and I know you have it. I know you have it. You know, I have it. Everyone listening has pressure and stress. And this morning, like, I can't remember if you said, but we were talking about our topic was going to be a little bit more lighthearted. And I think that's what you were expecting, is what I was expecting too. And as I was going through things, what kept coming back to the surface for me, because there is some stressful stuff going on, nothing serious, but it's just enough under the surface to kind of keep me, I don't know, a little down, or for lack of a better word. And I think at first I was thinking, I feel guilty about this and I feel guilty about that and I feel guilty about. So I was kind of thinking, how do we talk about when you feel guilty? But that's not really what it is truly, because I'm not, it's not something I'm guilty of. It's just the way that I feel. So when I kept thinking about it, the more I thought about it, the more I feel like it's just feeling pressure for different responsibilities, for different things going on. So I wrote down, what are the things that make me feel pressure? And the one that just came to the top of the list, and I didn't really think I was necessarily a people pleaser, but the one that came to the top of my list was to make and keep people happy and at peace, and just
Mhm.
feeling responsible for, John, my mom, other people, just try to make their lives, keep them on an even keel, make them feel peaceful and happy. Then I feel pressure to make the right decisions regarding maybe my mother and, other situations. I feel pressure to be a peacemaker. I feel pressure to meet expectations. That's a huge one. And whose expectations? Sometimes they're mine. And figuring out what I have to do with that is maybe the topic for another day. But I feel pressure to make other people's lives better, and this makes me sound um like I'm always doing nice things, and I'm not. I just feel it, like I feel guilty if I'm not, and sometimes I just end up not doing anything. I feel pressure to get everything done. And you talk about holidays coming up, and we have our own private discussions about the stress and the pressure. When I think about, it's middle of November when this podcast comes out, and all of the things that are going to be happening over the next 6 or 8 weeks. And does that make me feel, that joy and peace of the holiday season? It really does not. And I don't like that. I don't want to feel that way. And then I feel pressure to not make others feel stress. So, I feel like whatever I say and do, I need to lessen the pressure and stress of other people. So anyway, just thinking about the things that make me feel pressure. Do any of those sound the same to you? Do you have different pressures and stresses, or
Oh, I can relate to most of those. I mean, as women, we have people in our lives that God's given us to love on and take care of, and it's a blessing, but it's a responsibility too. And finding the balance in life when there's so many things pulling us in different directions and obligations, things we want to do, things we should be doing, it's hard. It can be very stressful. And yeah, you did pull the wool over my eyes because you you said
I pulled a fast one on you?
gonna come up with a fun topic, and then you sent me, here's some questions I'm gonna bring up, and I was like, that is not fun at all. But but it's necessary. And since it was stress related, I had written an article a few years ago called Managing Stress and Anxiety. And I listed a few things in the beginning that could be situations that come naturally. And it's not like they're all bad. The first one I put on there is a new marriage, a new baby, a new home, or a new work. Those are all good things and blessings, but they also can come with some fearfulness and trepidation. You got to use courage, you got to use wisdom, you got to, you know, be mindful of it. Um, Long-term care of an aging parent. So not only the physical exhaustion that comes from that, but the emotional turmoil, seeing a loved one suffer, um, a school or a workload. Sometimes you get stressed in more ways than you ever expected.
Mhm.
It's a growing time, it's a learning time, but it pulls you in a bunch of different directions. Um, Poor health, if you're going through months or years of battling something, financial worries, wondering about retirement or healthcare or debt, those kinds of things. And then rocky relationships.
Yeah.
So that can bring a lot of stress. If your marriage is just barely hanging on right now, you're worried about your grown-up children, you're worried about a spiritually wayward relative, you know, a lot of stress comes along with these
Mhm.
relationships that we have in our lives. So the people we love most sometimes can be the source of great anxiety. So those are
Exactly.
mhm.
Yeah. And I remember, this is sort of a side note, but I remember when mom was going through, when dad was going through dementia and mom was taking care of him, she was his primary caregiver. And I remember thinking to myself, she must want to cry on dad's shoulder, but dad is the one that's causing her, for lack of a better word,
Mhm.
obviously unintentionally, but dad was the source of her stress.
Mhm.
And she couldn't cry on his shoulder
Mhm.
because, he wouldn't understand that. And so things like that, it's just a part of life. Stress is a part of life, and learning how to deal with it. And when I feel like I'm under stress, it just puts me in a really bad mood. And John is the one that he ends up bearing the brunt of it. And of course, he knows the things going on in life, and he knows sometimes he'll just say, it's going to be okay. And that annoys me too, because I think that doesn't help for someone to say, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you said that, because now everything feels better. Wow, thanks. And that's kind of somehow that's how I respond, which is not, no, I don't really respond quite that ugly, but I do feel like that's just not helpful.
Mhm.
Even though a lot of times we want to say that to someone, it really is going to be okay. What's the worst that can happen? You play that game, which John will do that to me sometimes. Well, so if that does happen, what next? Well, then this might happen. Well, and if that happens, then what next? And
Mhm.
you play that out, and what is the worst that can happen? And it's not that big of a deal. But it just feels like, especially this time of year, things just pile on top of each other, and you just want to, I mean, the way I deal with it, I want to go get a book and escape into somebody else's life.
Yes. Yeah.
But also, I think that's so dumb too, because my issues and problems and stresses are so minor compared to so many others. And so then that also ends up making me feel guilty. So
Well,
it's
this really
just,
could be a deep dive kind of topic because, there's first of all, stress, you know how with some health conditions they'll call it chronic or acute.
mhm,
And I think the same is true for stress. That sometimes we know it's going to be short term. This is a really busy season right now. The holiday season, for instance, can be stressful, but in your mind, you can see light at the end of the tunnel once we get through the holidays. Or something's coming up, something's looming, and it's making things stressful, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. But then there's that whole, my life just feels completely out of balance and I'm constantly in a sense of overwhelm
mhm,
or, whatever it is bringing on the stress or this is a long-term illness or whatever it is, and I think that's one factor. And then another one is how much of it are we bringing upon ourselves
yeah,
and how much of it is outside of our control, and are there choices that we can be making better? Can we be responding to situations differently? I mean, there's really a lot that could be talked about on this topic. So
yeah.
I'm fully relying on you to answer all those questions and take away all my stress.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Thank
There's
you.
also people who thrive on it, like that becomes their identity. Like, you know,
Ugh.
we both know people that you say, "How are you?" I'm just so stressed out. I just can't believe everything that's going on, and that's just who they are. And they thriving on something doesn't necessarily mean they're happy about it. It just means that that's what gives them life. And I don't want to be that way either. And anytime I say, I'm just so busy, I don't want to say that. And feel I want to draw those words back in because I know everyone else is just
Mhm.
as busy as I am. And so, why am I even saying that? So anyway, yeah, I always have a hard time remembering which one is chronic and which one is acute because one of them sounds worse than the other, and I never can remember which is which. But very good point
Yeah,
that.
I remember my dad told me one time that some people procrastinate on purpose because they feel like they work better under pressure.
Mhm,
Like the stress of now I have to do it, this deadline is looming, or even preachers, waiting until the last minute to write their sermon, because they feel like they do better under pressure, and I am the exact opposite. And when I feel pressured or stressed because time is running short, I do not I
mhm.
do not function well. I mean, I'll function, but I don't have a good attitude about it. And I'm the exact opposite. And I think in this sort of fast-paced, scheduled soundbite world that we live in, it goes against my very nature. So I'm in some ways feel like I'm at odds with the whole world.
Yeah.
The whole world stresses me out.
Well, I mean,
Is
that's
that
the
is that
truth.
dramatic, Carla? Was that
It's
too
just a
dramatic?
little, it's a little dramatic, but it's truthful too. But
Oh.
like people don't know how to do something without adrenaline. And
Mhm.
adrenaline comes for me with stress.
Mhm.
And I tend to be one who I I don't feel like I do any better if I procrastinate and work under pressure. But
Me
sometimes I put something off because I don't know where to start. And then when I don't know where to start, then okay, well I still have a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, I've put it off and put it off and talk about stress and nightmares when you dream about getting up in front of a group of people and you have no idea what you're going to say. That is a nightmare.
Well, and Neil is the exact opposite. I feel like he thrives on multiple commitments and when things get down to the wire, it does not bother him at all. Like he loves having a lot to do. He loves having a lot of commitments. He loves having I just feel like and if he doesn't, something's off for him, And so we are total opposites. So isn't it great that we're married? Try try envisioning the harmony in our household.
Mm. Well, there's something wrong with you, Neil. I know you listen. There's something wrong with you for liking things going on all the time. I need a little downtime.
Well, he just doesn't. I mean, he can just handle it and seems to thrive on it. And what else can we be doing? What more can we be doing? Oh, I haven't had a Bible study this week, or I haven't, it's like,
And he
and I'm
enjoys it. It's not that he feels like guilty about it. It's that he enjoys
no, he thrives. I'm telling you, he thrives on it.
Yeah, well, we should have invited him to be a guest on this podcast then.
That's right.
Okay, I told you that it was going to be like table topics. Here's one of your questions. What are your triggers for stress? You just said one, like not being prepared early enough. So do you want me to tell you mine while you think about it, or do you have some that
No,
you
no,
think of?
no, because I like your answers better and wish I would have said that and blah blah blah. So, um, mine is when I don't have space in my planner. I think I've talked about that before, but those we are very blessed to be a part of a very active church family, and that's wonderful, and I love it. But when you're putting all the upcoming things, in the planner, and like there's I'm still old school and I have a paper planner. Okay. There's
Mhm.
no one square
Yeah.
that doesn't have something in it. And that stresses me out. And it's not because I feel like I need a day to be lazy. I mean, there's always just normal daily life stuff to do, but I'm talking about when there's not even a day when you don't have to be off somewhere at some event, at some commitment, or whatever. I tend to feel stressed.
Mm.
And even though they're all good things, I mean, I'm grateful for them and I'm thankful for, I know that I recognize that they are good, wonderful things. I feel like I'm saying this badly.
I think everybody understands exactly what you're saying.
Okay, good.
Even good things can cause stress. In fact,
Yes.
most of the time, maybe not most of the time, but a lot of the time, it's those good things that cause me the most stress, wanting to do the right thing.
And so the stress comes when, let's say I do have one of those little blank squares, and then somebody says, can you do this? Or can you blah, 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 or can, fill in the blank or whatever it
What are
is.
you
And
doing on Tuesday?
I get, huh?
What are you doing on Tuesday?
Exactly, exactly. And so then I feel that whole, like you say, the pressure to want to accommodate and please and serve and all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, I'm going, that was my one blank square. Yeah.
Well, and then there's guilt upon guilt for me because when I feel that way,
Yeah.
I know we talked about this a couple podcasts ago, but if I don't get the right answer, it stresses me out to find the right answer. And then when I know it's the right answer, but yet it's not what I want, that gives me stress
Mhm.
or pressure or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um,
And stress about people that I love, of course, if I'm worried. It may not be something that I'm going through, but it's something that somebody I love is going through that stresses me out.
mhm,
Uh, we've talked about this one before. Being rushed stresses me out.
mhm. Yeah. You posted about getting some things done in your kitchen so that meal planning would be easier later. And I thought that's one of your perfect days because you had time in your kitchen and you got to, and piddle is not the right word, but piddle in the sense of putting things together, your jars behind you. I know that brings you peace. And so that's one of your
Yeah.
stress relievers, probably.
It is. You know me so well. I mean, Saturday, excuse me, the Georgia game was on. And so that was on in the background. Neil's in there, and you're so right. I mean, I chopped a bunch of vegetables and I shredded a bunch of cheese and I made some sauerkraut and pickled onions and some, I mean, just like packaging all these things up. And it felt so good, at the end of the day. And actually already came in handy because I made ham and bean soup yesterday and it called for chopped onions, chopped carrots, chopped celery, and chopped garlic. And I had prepped
Awesome.
all of those things. So I'm literally just pulling them out of the freezer. It's like gifting my future self.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's just that's my perfect afternoon right there. Time to do stuff like that.
Okay. So I've solved your stress.
Thank you.
Just put in your little blank square, put meal prep.
Yeah.
Some of the things that trigger me. So this is going to sound, do I really want to say this? Well, I mean, I think everybody probably feels this, and I don't mean it in a, I don't mean it in a bad way, but family gatherings can bring stress because you want everyone to feel at home. You want everyone to feel at peace in your home. You want everyone to enjoy being there. You want everyone to be at peace with one another. Um, you want to make sure that things are planned well and that you're going to have enough. And, there's all kinds of things. And when I think about being a little worried about my own family that is at peace, for the most part, like any family has little competitive stuff going on. But think about all the families out there that argue over political things and there is no peace. So I realize that shouldn't be so much of a pressure point for me. Financial meetings. So this is one of the things that we had to do today. And this is so dumb because it wasn't anything difficult, but when you're in ministry, your taxes are different and your planning and preparation and things are just different. And I always feel like either I don't know the answer to that question or I'm doing something wrong. And I'm trying not to do anything wrong, but somewhere I'm doing something wrong and I'm going to get caught for it and blamed for it. And that stresses me out. But then we have this meeting and, you know, I had some of the answers for the questions and we ended up, oh, this is great. Then why didn't we do this 2 years ago? And it always is like that. If you just would do it, then the pressure would be relieved. And so anyway, I hate doing it, but it always ends up being a good thing. Doctor visits stress me out because I just don't like going to the doctor. Um, Church issues, knowing things about that are going on, everywhere, every congregation has church issues. And then busy seasons, those are my triggers. And there's probably more, but I'm looking at those and they are all happening right now. All. So maybe that's why I'm feeling a little bit of stress.
Yeah. Neil would probably, there's not a lot that really stresses him out, but finances is one of them. And we're doing fine. But for him, it's the whole future. You
Yeah.
know, like I feel like he's very proactive and responsible, and he's always taken great care of us, with God's help, and done such a great job, and always had a mind to the future. But I think in his mind, he's always worrying, is it enough? How long am I going to be able to preach? Are you going to be taken care of if something happens to me? Like that stuff. And it used to wake him up in the night.
Well, he feels more responsibility than probably you do because he's a provider and the caretaker of his family. So yeah, I get that. So those are some of our triggers. How does stress or pressure affect us mentally and physically? What does it do to you physically?
Physically, well, I'm not really a stress eater. I know some people are, but I think I don't know how to answer that one.
Do you get
I,
tense, grumpy?
okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I can see what you're saying now. Like with the shoulders and the lower back and
Yeah,
yeah, I can see that. I get stress headaches, so that would be a physical thing.
yeah.
Mm.
Sometimes like my heart, like if I think of something that is like my
Mm.
heart will jump and then I'll feel that adrenaline, which I know is not good for you at all. That's like bad for your blood pressure. It's bad for to be flooded with adrenaline, at that fight or flight sensation or syndrome or whatever.
Mm.
So I try to prevent that kind of thing from happening, but sometimes you don't know when it's going to hit you. What about your stomach? Do you ever get indigestion or just nauseated when something's coming and you don't know how to handle it? Mentally, think about this. How do you handle stress mentally? And one of the ways, I'm not a worrier. This is what's strange is that I don't really worry about things. I'm not a worry wart, but I do um, feel tension about some things. And one of those, the word that I read today that was like, oh, it's catastrophizing. I think I'm saying it right. When you immediately think of all the catastrophes that can happen because of this thing that you're stressed about.
Mm.
And, 99.9% of the time, none of it comes true. But yet that's how it affects me mentally, is all thinking of the ways. I think some of that happens on when we have the trips coming up. I think, what if this happens? What if that happens? And again, like I'm not worried about it necessarily, but I can't help but think of, what might happen and what would we do then? And some of that is, after the 2020 trip, the COVID trip, we couldn't help but start thinking about making sure that we have plan B, plan C, plan D in place just in case some things happen. So that's how stress and pressure affect me and you. What would be the downside to not feeling pressure or stress? If you
Downside.
didn't feel any pressure, what would the downside be?
Well, idealistically, none. There wouldn't be one, but I imagine in some way it causes us to pay attention or to appreciate the times when there isn't any stress or, I mean, good can be found in any, you know, maybe we're pushed out of our comfort zone in a stressful situation, or maybe we have to learn endurance and perseverance in a stressful situation. So,
Yeah.
good can definitely come from it if handled correctly.
Yeah. I thought about motivation. Sometimes it's motivating
Yeah.
to feel a little bit of that. I mean, it's it's a good thing to not just feel 100% comfortable all the time because it motivates us to do things that we might not ordinarily do. Like you said, being out of our comfort zones. Do you see stress as an opportunity to grow, or is it just a burden?
Yes.
I agree. Yes, and
Yes to
yes.
both.
It is both a burden and an opportunity to grow. And I sometimes don't want to grow. I'm done growing, okay? Don't want to stress anymore. Okay. Just a couple more questions and then we'll get to some solutions, I think. Do we avoid the things that stress us out? Do you tend to meet them head on or do you avoid them?
I think it all depends what kind it is. If
This
it's
is your
something that
counseling session for this week.
I appreciate it, and this is free,
Well,
free,
you haven't got my
free,
bill
free.
yet.
If it's something that I can do something about, I think I would rather hit it head on. I don't want it hanging over me. I don't want to worry about it. I just, whatever, if there's something I can do, I just want to do it. But if it's something about somebody else, I'm a head in the sand kind of person. Like if something's going on with my grown kids, I'll pray. I don't really need to know all the details
Mhm.
because that's what's going to keep me up at night. When I cut my lamp off and I turn over and I start praying, and if I have to deep sigh before I pray, I know I'm worried and I'm stressing about people, and I'm having to go, okay,
Yeah.
please be with, blah, 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 blah. Blah. So I think my answer is a little different depending on the
Yeah.
circumstances.
John is completely meet things head on. And
Mhm.
one time I heard him say, he was talking about someone else dealing with some kind of pressure in their life and that they had taken care of a few things. And he said, at least the ship isn't taking on water anymore. The ship's not gonna sink anymore. And that kind of struck a chord with me, like, okay, so maybe we're still circling the drain, but we've done a little bit to kind of keep the ship from sinking. But I mean, he'll hit it head on, but I tend to just stick my head in the sand and procrastinate and retreat and do all those things, which does absolutely nothing for resolving whatever it is that I'm stressed about. Um, I read something that said stressors may reveal what matters the most to us. So if we're so stressed about health issues, then it must be that physical health is what is most important to us. If we're worried about how we look, we're getting older or whatever, then our appearance is what matters the most. If I'm worried about finances, so I think that may be somewhat true, not necessarily what matters most, but things that matter to us are the things that we're going to stress over. So how do we cope? How do you cope with stress? You've touched on this a little bit. You said you're not a stress eater. I tend to be, not completely, but I'll eat a lot more pretzels when I'm stressed than when I'm not stressed. Need to keep them out of the house.
Well, I mean, I have all the right answers here from my article, and I'm sure you're going to touch on those. But for me, my number one go-to is if I can talk to Neil. It's not, nothing's changed usually, but it just sharing that with him makes all the difference as far as how I feel, as far as the stress itself. Just talking it out, just saying the words that I won't say to anybody else. That's probably my number one. I mean, prayer,
Yeah.
my number one, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's probably my go-to is to talk to
Like
Neil.
you work it out when you talk it out.
Mhm.
Do you have to tell him sometimes, I'm not looking for you to resolve this. I just need you to listen? Or does he know that? Or how do you handle
I
that?
think he knows that. He's still a fixer,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
still feel better just being able to talk to him about it.
Yeah. That's definitely something that it somehow takes a while for me to get to where I can talk because I think I don't know how to voice whatever it is that's going on. I might not be able to voice it. Exercise is
Yeah.
one of those things that I don't really like to do it, but I learned a while back that if I had a headache, a stress headache, and then I went to the gym and did the treadmill or whatever, my headache would go away. So I learned that exercise really is going to help. Going biking for me, I mean, that would be my number one, and I can't really do it here. We have gravel roads around here, but in Denver, just
Mhm.
ride the bike out the door and feel the wind in my hair, and you can pray, you can talk to God, you can see the beautiful creation. I tend to think one of yours is probably being having your hands in the dirt,
Mhm.
aside from working in the kitchen, but gardening for you is probably one of those stress relievers.
Mhm.
Reading, because I'm in denial. If I can escape into some other world, that's how I cope. And sometimes those are healthy things and sometimes they're not. So biblically,
Mhm.
how do we handle stress? We've spent I don't know how long talking about all the things that stress us out and how we deal with it in a worldly way, but how should we deal with it biblically? And the first one that I think is, aside from prayer, and we'll talk about that, but the number one thing that I feel like helps me is to praise God. And there's that saying that I remembered from years ago, that praise will be your number one weapon against, and then you insert in whatever.
Mhm.
Fear is the first thing that comes to my mind. Praise will be your greatest weapon against fear, but praise will be your greatest weapon against stress, because when you're in the midst of praising God, your mind is taken off of whatever it is that you're stressed about, and you're also humbling yourself before the one that already knows what's on your mind. He already knows that there's a solution. He already knows how unimportant it is, or important, because some things really are. If we there are times, and I don't think I struggle with this, but I imagine some people do, if we're blaming God or we're
Mhm.
feeling a little anger against him, but if we're praising him, that removes that, or at least it sets it aside, or it makes us look at it differently when we're praising God. So intentional praise, even when we aren't feeling this way, it does turn our heart from ourselves to God, and God is always worthy of our praise.
Mhm.
So praise. Hebrews 12:28 says, therefore, since we receive a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us show gratitude, by which we may offer to God an acceptable service with reverence and awe. And then I wanted to read Psalm 95, just the whole thing. It's not very long, but Psalm 95 says, oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise to him with songs of praise. For the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods. In his hand are the depths of the earth. The heights of the mountains are his also. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, the sheep of his hand. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. And then goes on to say, as in Meribah, when your fathers put me to the test, I'm going to stop there. When you're reading those kind of things and singing them aloud, or just talking words of praise to God, that to me is going to be one of the best ways to get rid of the stress. What do you think?
I think that's probably the best answer you could have ever given. I mean, really, how powerful is that? And praise encompasses both prayer and the word. You know, a lot of the things that we read about praise come from the Psalms. The reasons we praise God come from His Word. And I was thinking about the other night. Um, Neil had asked. We were sitting here, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And Neil said, "Do you want to sing?" And he had picked up the two songbooks, and I just wasn't feeling it. I was slightly aggravated with him about some trivial thing, you know. And he goes, "Do you want to sing?" And I just kind of looked at him. And he goes, "Or you're not really feeling like it right now." But I didn't want to go. I don't want to sing. And I was
Yeah.
like, "No, we can sing." And I'm not kidding. Within 5 minutes, my mind was completely turned around. I mean, it was amazing. And we even sang that song. I will meet you there. That one that you had told me about. Yeah. We even sang that one. And I remember in the moment thinking, I could have missed out on this, but just a few, and we didn't sing very long. But just a few minutes of singing just completely changed my mindset.
Yeah. I
And that's
love that y'all do that.
praising. That's praising.
Hmm. Not too many people do that.
How do you know?
I've just never heard anybody else talk about it. And I've seen you do it, and we've done it with you. And it's not something that we do on a regular basis. I'm self-conscious about that, and you're just not. And I love that. I admire that about y'all. I think it's neat. And you brought this up, I don't know, this last podcast or one or two ago, talking about singing, and you practice what you preach. So that's a great thing. I want to be more like you. The second obvious thing is to pray. And yes, it's obvious, but it can be hard when we're not feeling it. It has to be, there's that intentional word again. We have to be intentional about it. We have to decide to stop allowing our thoughts and focus our feelings. Think about um, talking to our creator and knowing that he's the one that knows, like I said a little earlier, he knows everything that's going on already. Sometimes we can just say, and sometimes I do say, God, you know what's going on, and I know you know what's best. And I want to turn it all over to you, and I'm having a hard time with that. And forgive me and help me. And, there's just those simple prayers. It's like talking to Neil or talking to John, but even better because, whereas we have to explain our feelings to our husbands, God already knows. And without even words, he understands and he knows and he bends down to listen. And it's like it's rerouting our feelings of stress and our attention on this earthly thing that's going on, and it focuses on heavenly things, and it keeps us looking up. And I'm sure that you can think of tons of verses. 1 Thessalonians 5:17, pray without ceasing, that used to just floor me when I was a kid. How do you pray all the time? Because how do I talk to mom and pray at the same time? It was just one of those things that was hard for me to grasp. But Jeremiah 29, we've heard this verse a lot of times, but the verse after the one that you hear all the time says that when we call, he'll listen, and when we seek him, we'll find him. 1 John 5:14 and 15. This is the confidence which we have before him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have the request which we have asked from him. So not that we're going to just have $1 million handed down to us when we're having financial problems, but just the knowledge that he hears and understands. So pray. So praise and pray. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, Philippians 4, 6, and 7, you know, tells us to be anxious for nothing, but in everything with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace
Mhm.
that passes all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And the reason I love that so much is because I feel like stress is one of those things that kind of trips us up because it catches us off guard. If you didn't sleep and you're feeling tired the next day, you're tired because you didn't sleep. But I think sometimes we just feel off or unsettled or depleted or buzzy or, whatever it is that we think we're feeling. And it takes us a minute to figure out what's going on. And, it just seems like it's not obviously, oh, I'm stressed. I feel like it can just sneak up on us. And so sometimes when you can't identify the stress or the source of the stress or why you're feeling the way you're feeling, just to know that you can just pour all of that out to God. I don't even know how to describe what I'm feeling or why I'm feeling this way, but you do.
Mhm.
And being able to turn that all over to Him, the one who created us and loves us more than anyone, and to know the promises, that peace that will bring the peace that will guard our hearts and minds. I mean, what more do you need when you're stressed?
And the verse, and maybe you brought it up, but the one that talks about with the groanings too deep to utter, he can express those things. He understands what's going on in our heart. So that's a comfort to me. I know it is to you as well. The next one is to ask for help. So praise, pray, then ask for help. And this is kind of hard for some of us. Um, I'm not very good at delegating any kind of task. I don't know why. Maybe there's a certain way I want something done, and so I feel like I need to do it myself, or I don't want to bother somebody with it for whatever reason. I'm not very good at asking for help. Um, but sometimes we need to ask for help. And that's, you've talked about this. You can allow others to be a blessing when you ask for their help. And I know I enjoy for someone to say, "Hey, would you help me?" Depending on what it is, obviously, but um, just to be to know that someone needs you is life affirming, and it gives us purpose in life. So Romans 12:4 and 5, we are one body in Christ. We need one another. We're members of one another. Proverbs 11:2, when pride comes, then dishonor, but with the humble is wisdom. And then I've heard you talk about this, Exodus 18, where Moses and his father-in-law are, his father-in-law seeing what's going on. And he basically says, this is not good. What you're doing is not good. You need to ask for help. So what is it? Why is it hard to ask for help? But that's one of the ways that we can de-stress. If you've got a gazillion things going on, is there somebody that can help you? Is there somebody that would like to take a little bit of your load? I think there really often is.
My daughter-in-law Emily brought up something really interesting to me the other day. She had listened to the episode where I said, I don't remember what we were talking about, but I felt like I made the wrong choice to clean
Yeah.
out my refrigerator instead of spending time with her. And she ended up texting me about that. She heard me say that. And she said that in her family, the way they spent time together was just to do life together. And that her mom is her best friend and she really misses her because the way they would do things, just when you're going about doing your tasks or your errands or your chores, they would just pick up and do all those things together. So their lives overlap and their childcare overlaps and so that's how they spent time together. And I guess for me, it's we all in our lives have our own responsibilities and our tasks. And then when I want family to spend time together, I say, hey, how about everybody come over for dinner Friday night? And so it's a scheduled in kind of a thing instead of a sharing life and the loads and responsibilities thing. And when you were talking just now, it made me think that surely that type of lifestyle and interaction would be less stressful because not only are you helping each other out, but you're spending time together. You're talking and I was back in the day, and this was before our time, but when women would share tasks, the big tasks, they would get together and all do them together or sew together. You hear about the quilting bees and things like that. You're accomplishing
Barn
something,
raising.
but you're also talking and sharing and unloading and unburdening and all those things that help relieve stress because you're spending time together and doing it together.
And it's not entertaining.
Yeah.
You're talking about inviting everybody over, and when you do that, it's great. You enjoy being together, but you're focused on getting the food on the table or whatever it is. You're entertaining, whether or not that's your intent. That's kind of what you're doing. So I love that thought. I hadn't really ever thought about that, but just to do
Mhm.
things alongside each other. You and I have boys, so that probably is not something that we really, our boys didn't exactly want to do the same kind of things that we did, but I can see how daughters and mothers would probably end up doing and I know, like, my daughter-in-law, Erin, and her mom Pam do a lot of things like that together. So that's a great point. Just do life together. I love that. The next one is to surround yourself with Christian family, and the body is meant to provide strength and help us when we're weak, to support us when we're low. So that's kind of basically the same thing, asking for help, but surrounding yourself with Christian family. Text people, ask for prayers, humble yourself, and and put yourself where you need to be, which is in the middle of your Christian family. A lot of times I think when we're feeling stressed, we don't want to be around people, and so we isolate ourselves, and we might not want to gather with the body. And, Hebrews 10:24 talks about not forsaking the assembling, but it goes on to say, that we're to encourage one another, consider how to stir one another up. So put yourself in the middle of your Christian family. May go against our inclinations, but do it anyway. And then, two more quickly, be in the word. It reminds us that anxiety does not come from God. Several
Mm.
verses, 2 Timothy 3:16, of course, that all scripture is profitable for reproof and correction. We know what that scripture will do for us. Joshua 1:8 and 9 reminds us, the Bible reminds us we have a guidebook. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth. You'll meditate on it day and night to be careful to do according to all that's written in it. And he goes on to say, haven't I commanded you to be strong and courageous? So stay in the word. And then the last one is to examine my load. Think about it. And it Galatians 6 talks about believers, how we should share burdens. And that's how we show love for one another. And that's how we are more like Christ. But um, at the same time, we're responsible for what we put on our own plate. There are some things that we can't help it, but sometimes we have to draw some boundaries. And you and I have had conversations about this. We don't want to draw a boundary or a line where we shouldn't, where we're not doing things that we should do. And I've told John so many times, how do I get mad about something you're doing when it's for God? Because I feel like I'm getting mad at God for giving you something good to do. But sometimes it's just too much. And sometimes you have to know when, I'm my focus right now, what I'm doing right now, my my ministry, if you will, is my mother. And I'm gonna have to block her from watching this one because I know she does not want me to feel that way. She has said things like, I don't want you to come see me because you have to. I want you to come because you want to. And of course, I want to go see her because I want to, but I also need to go be with her because she needs me and because she needs companionship and she needs, she doesn't get out of her room very much. And so there's a responsibility there. And it would hurt her to think that I feel a responsibility, but it's just part of life. And so knowing that that's what I need to be doing and it's what I want to be doing, but that precludes me from doing some other things.
Mhm.
Am I making sense?
You are. Yeah.
So examining my load to me right now means knowing what my ministry is, knowing where my priority is, and keeping that up here. And then what other things fit underneath, great. But if not, I need to say no, or I need to back off, or figure out how better to organize my time. So that's where I am.
Yeah. And I can hear so much wisdom in your words, and this, when you're talking about caring for an aging parent, you've written some really beautiful things about that. And, maybe you can share links to those in the Facebook group in the next coming week. You've written some really wise words about that. And it's a delightful responsibility because it's your parent and you love them, but at the same time, it's still a burden, and because it does require sacrifice and time and difficult things, difficult decisions, watching difficult things happen, watching the difficult changes in a parent. I mean, talk about needing to draw strength from the word. It seems to me that just like if you can say that bringing home a baby is a stressful situation, there's nothing more joyful than that, but it's still a stressful situation. Certainly I think everybody could understand what you're talking about here.
Well, and I know that she would too, because I was there when she did it for her mom, and
Hmm.
it wasn't easy for her, but she doesn't remember that. And mom's got a good mind. I don't mean to imply that she doesn't, but there are things that she's forgotten. And so anyway, I think that a lot of pressure that I feel stems from some of that.
Hmm.
And just trying to make sure I honor her and her, who knows how many more years she has left. Her mother lived to be almost 103, so she may still have quite a bit left to go, but she doesn't think so. And I want her time that she's still on earth to be as pleasant as possible. And it can't be super pleasant when you can't she can't cook anymore. She can't drive herself anymore. She can't even, sometimes she'll say, I can't even go to the grocery store anymore. And she enjoyed doing that. She enjoyed looking at cookbooks and things. So I feel a pressure to do what I can to make her life as pleasant as possible. And I know that's a good thing, but it also is a hard thing. So anyway,
You're doing a great job. You're a good daughter.
thank you. You tell me that, and that helps me. So thank you for holding my hands up. All right, what else do you have? Anything?
Well, I have a little list of things on that article, but I think I'll just share the link if anybody wants to see them. You've already mentioned a couple of them, and I think you covered this adequately. I'll just share a link if anybody wants to check it out in the next week in the group.
Can you just read the high marks?
Pray, meditate, boost your health, unplug, unclutter, unwind, laugh, and love.
Yeah. Laughing is great.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, yes, I would definitely, in fact, when we get off, send it to me and then you can link it next week in the group.
Okay,
Do you have anything good for me?
I forgot.
Did you think about it? I thought about it and now
I
I
mean,
can't.
we could say that the spider catcher is probably something.
Yeah, there you go. I have something that I'm pretty excited about. I haven't even taken it out of the box yet, but it was on Mommy Markdown for $20. So it can't be great, but
Okay.
it's got good reviews. But it's a mini chainsaw.
Oh, I got one of those for Gary.
Do you?
Yes.
I'm pretty psyched about this. And it's 4 inches, so I probably won't be chopping down any trees, but I can cut down some branches and do some trimming around here. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
he loves it. It was either his birthday or Christmas last year. I can't remember, but even when he opened it, I was like, this is the most random gift. I don't know how you're going to feel about it.
and he
But
likes it.
because I saw it on Mommy Markdown last year and he loves it. So
Okay,
I think
good.
you'll enjoy it.
I'll let you know, and I'll try not to cut off any limbs of my own.
Of your own, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for letting me kind of, I don't know, spout off some stress or get rid of some stress just by talking about it. That helped me a lot. So
Yeah. Well, I love you and I'm praying for you.
thank you. I love you too. And so until next time,
Keep looking up.
look up. I'll see you later.